What leadership style is the most effective? After working with thousands of leaders, I can tell you that it's not transformational, it's not servant leadership, it's not any style that you learn in business school, and it's the one that nobody talks about. I'm Jody Friedman. I've built multiple seven-figure businesses, I've coached executives across industries, and I've spent 2 decades watching leaders succeed and fail. And what I'm about to share with you, it's going to challenge everything you think you know about effective leadership. See, the most effective leadership style, it's not a style at all. It's alignment. I want you to think about Tony Stark's journey in Iron Man. At the beginning, Tony's trying to be this leader that he thinks he should be. The weapons manufacturer, the playboy genius, the guy who has everything figured out. But that version of leadership, it almost gets him killed. The transformation happens when he stops trying to be who others expect him to be and starts being who he actually is. That's when he becomes truly powerful. Not because he adopted a leadership style, but because he aligned with his authentic self. So here's what research from self-determination theory tells us. When your actions align with your authentic values and natural strengths, you don't just perform better, but you inspire others to perform better too. But here's the problem with traditional leadership training. Every MBA program, every corporate workshop, every leadership book, it teaches you to adopt a leadership style. Be transformational, be servant-focused, be situational, be authentic. But when you try to lead like someone else, what happens? Well, you're performing, you're acting, you're wearing this leadership costume that it just doesn't fit. Your team feels it. They can sense the disconnect between who you're trying to be and who you actually are. And that disconnect, it kills trust faster than any mistake that you could make. Now, I see this pattern over and over again everywhere. Leaders who read about Steve Jobs and they try to become the visionary dictators, or leaders who study Oprah and they try to become inspirational cheerleaders, leaders who admire military commanders and they try to become authoritarian decision makers. None of it works because you're not them, you're you. And here's what I learned watching hundreds of leaders trying to fit into styles that weren't theirs. The most effective leaders, they're not the ones who master a particular style. They're the ones who master themselves. And this is what psychologists call authentic leadership. But it goes deeper than that. It's about recognizing that you're probably living in what I call the achiever's room. This is a mental space where you believe that your worth comes from performing the right version of success. In the achiever's room, you're constantly trying to become the leader you think that you should be instead of the leader you actually are. You're chasing external validation instead of internal alignment. Let me give you an example. I recently worked with the CEO who spent years trying to be a transformational leader because that's what all the research said was most effective. He gave inspiring speeches, he painted compelling visions, he tried to motivate through purpose, and his team, they were polite, they nodded, they followed directions, but there was no real engagement, there was no innovation, there was no ownership or agency. Then something shifted. During a particularly challenging quarter, he stopped trying to inspire and started being honest. He shared his concerns. He admitted that he just didn't have all the answers and he asked for help. And that's when everything changed. His team, they didn't see weakness. They saw authenticity and they responded with their best work. Because here's the truth. People don't follow leadership styles. They follow leaders who are aligned with themselves. When you try to lead from a style that isn't yours, you create friction between who you are and who you're trying to be, between what you believe and how you're acting, between your natural strengths and the strengths that you think you should have. That friction, it exhausts you, it confuses your team, and it limits your effectiveness. When you lead from alignment, when your leadership flows from who you actually are, instead of who you think you should be, everything becomes easier. Your decisions feel natural, your communication feels authentic, and your presence feels powerful. Your team stops following your position and starts following your person. So how do you find your aligned leadership style? You stop trying to become a better leader and start becoming a better you. You identify your natural strengths instead of trying to develop strengths that look good on paper. You lead from your values instead of values that sound impressive. You communicate in your voice instead of a voice that sounds authoritative. You stop performing leadership and you start embodying leadership. See, the most effective style of leadership It's not the one that's most popular. It's the one that's the most you. It's not the most research. It's not the most impressive. It's the most you. Because when you lead from alignment, you don't just become more effective, you become irreplaceable. Anyone can copy a leadership style. No one can copy you being you. So if you're ready to stop performing leadership and start embodying it, if you want to discover the leadership style that's uniquely yours, if you're tired of trying to fit into someone else's definition of effective, I want you to start here, wrecktheroom.com. The world has enough copies. It needs the original you, and I'm here to guide you. Thanks for listening.